Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. It's me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and today we have one of the most important shows that we're going to have all preseason. It's the must-have players, and I've got two of the must-have analysts to help me break them all down. We are talking about the guys that you got to have if you're going to win in 2025, and that's why we're here. We're not here for second place. Second place is for losers. It's just the first loser, and that's what Scott Bogman told me after I finished second place to him in the league. At least that's what he says. So Scott Bogman's here, host of our Dynasty podcast, and a special guest here, Sirius XM Radio's own Jeff Ratcliffe, also one of the big mucky mucks over at FTN. And, being the host of the Jeff Ratcliffe Show on Sirius XM Radio, it's the perfect show for you. I mean, I can't imagine anyone else, Jeff, hosting the Jeff Ratcliffe Show. I think it would be awkward.
I think Bob Harris actually hosted it one time, to be honest with you. I had a thing. So if there was a person, then Bob would be that guy. But yeah, I think you figured this out. We spent a lot of time workshopping the names, coming up with something really hyper original, and this is what we landed on. So the Jeff Ratcliffe Show.
Is there anybody more beloved than Bob Harris, though? Like, I think all of us would be like, Bob can have whatever he wants, do whatever he wants,
Yes.
whatever.
Yeah.
We just love Bob. He's just such a good dude, man. He's top notch. So Jeff is here fresh off the Flex League draft this past weekend. We were in together. We've been in that league a few years. We had some fantastic discussions going in to the draft too, because we were talking about, must-have players and, what that means, and sometimes also the situations. And Jeff and I were talking about, and I wanted to bring it over to the show. I said, you got to come on, let's talk about this, because I feel like, some of the circumstances is not just talent, right? It's also sometimes offensive line that gets under-discussed. It's also contract situations get under-discussed. Jeff, how much of that goes into your equation when you're evaluating players in terms of, like, this is a situation that I definitely want to be involved in and situations that I really want to shy away from?
That's a really good question. I don't really tend to look too much at offensive line because, I find that the metrics that are most sticky for like running backs, for example, is going to be yards after contact, and that's how they operate independent of their blockers. But contract is really, really important. There are things that, I heard somebody say, what if James Cook pulls a Le'Veon Bell? Well, he can't. Le'Veon Bell wasn't under contract. He was a franchise tag player who refused to sign his tag. Cook is under contract. Terry McLaurin is under contract, and these things are about money. So ultimately, I have no major concerns about those guys playing. You also can look at some of these numbers. Like, we still have yet to get all of the Keenan Allen details, and maybe by the time the listeners are listening to this, we do have those details. 8.25 million or 8.52 million, but is it 8.52 million guaranteed? Is it up to 8.52 million? Is there all kinds of incentives? What's the guaranteed money? That is very important to evaluating players. So I do look at those sorts of things for sure, Joe.
And Bogman, this year I think is very unique. It feels like a little bit of a while since we've had a rookie running back class has been so good. I keep looking at a bunch of my rosters and I see just littered with rookies. And it's not just because I play Dynasty, because it feels like these guys every year are making more of an impact. But specifically this year, I feel like we've been bereft in the last couple of years of, outside of one or two guys, running backs that can really make an impact. And I feel like we're going to talk about some of those guys today. But has it surprised you, Boggs, in some of your early drafts, how many rookies, just generally speaking, are ending up on your redraft rosters?
A little bit, because, it's one of those things where I feel like, because I do so much Dynasty, right? My first mocks of the season have been heavy rookie laden because I see a lot of upside from these players, evaluating them for so long during the college season. So my initial rosters, but now this season, every mock I have is littered with rookies throughout there, because there's a rookie running back to take at any point in the draft, even in the very beginning with Genty, and then you have Hampton, and then it just goes on from there, and they're pushing some of this old guard out of their jobs as well. So, I think if you leave without a rookie running back at some point in your draft, you're probably doing it wrong.
All right. Well, we're going to try to do it right today. We're going to try to get all the right names on your rosters. Make sure you, again, follow us here on Fantasy Pros on the YouTube channel. Subscribe today. Drop your comments below. We love that. We got free giveaways going on. We got a lot of great content. Ring the bell till it goes ding, baby. Trying to get to 300,000 subscribers, and we can do it with your help. Let's start here with must-haves for specific situational builds, because that's more important. We can go out here and say, oh, I love this player, I love that player, but that's kind of nonsense, because a lot of it has to do with roster construction. And I want to talk about the Hero RB build, which is a very popular thing nowadays. Again, if you're new to fantasy, it's one of those things where it's like you're going to have your one go-to running back, and then you're going to surround them with other wide receivers and then build that team out and eventually get the RB2. So when it comes to hero RBs, it's guys, obviously, the Bijan Robinsons are great, all those guys at the top, Jahmyr Gibbs, but we're not talking about guys outside of that top 5 that you still think could be a hero RB. So Jeff, I want to start with you. Give me a name that maybe people aren't necessarily jumping right out of the gate for and saying, this could be a hero RB situation I can live with in 2025. Who's that name that sticks out to you?
Yeah, and this is a second round conversation. You can still execute hero RB in the second round for anybody listening here. I'm going with Bucky Irving. Now, granted, I do think his name is popping for some, although I have had some folks say, I'm not really convinced of, starting wide receiver and then Bucky Irving compared to going Saquon or Bijan or Jahmyr Gibbs, like you just mentioned. Well, I am, because you're taking Bucky Irving probably towards the back half of the second round. If you're doing that, then who's your wide receiver? Justin Jefferson? I mean, I'll take that, right?
Sure.
And then beyond that, Bucky Irving it took him a while to build up in his rookie season. And to go back to that earlier topic, yes, there's a lot of running backs in this class. This class was loaded. Last year's was lackluster AF. So it's a big change from last year. And, Irving, it took him until week 10 to break out. But once he broke out big time, completely dusted Rachaad White. He's in the background now. Sean Tucker's a nice number 3, don't get me wrong. But this is Bucky Irving's backfield. Now, we don't know what the offense is quite going to look like, but I'm willing to give the Tampa Bay Buccaneers the benefit of the doubt because they nailed Canales, right? He's a head coach. They nailed Liam Cohen. He was even better than Canales as an OC. He's a head coach. So we'll see what Grizzard is. I don't know what he's going to be, but I know the offense has firepower. I know there's going to be a lot of opportunities there, and Bucky Irving's going to touch the ball a whole heck of a lot.
All right, Boggs, let's get a name from you here. Hero RBs outside the top 5. Who do you think you can build that running back room around and go and attack maybe the big tight ends or definitely big wide receivers early and often in the draft instead?
Give me Achane. Right now, he's going off the board around RB7, I believe. RB7. I have an RB4. And the game plan is not going to change for Tua, right? It's going to be short passes, keep Tua on the field. They didn't make enough offensive line improvements for them to start hucking it deep on way more plays. They should do it more. Tua's 5.5% deep throw rate was the lowest among qualified QBs by a wide margin. But they did get rid of 111 targets in Jonnu Smith here. So are those all going to go to Darren Waller? I don't think so. And I think you're going to keep this passing game short. There could be even more receptions on the table for Achane. And Achane is not a guy that has to touch the ball 1,000 times to make an impact. He makes big plays. So, obviously his production dipped disgustingly when Tua was hurt last season. But they went down to Skylar Thompson and Tyler Huntley. It was ugly there last year without Tua. I think adding Zach Wilson and Quinn Ewers means the floor for Achane comes up because I don't think they can sink to as low as they were last season with some decent backup quarterbacks here. And Achane's pace when Tua came back after he missed those 4 weeks was just shy of 1,700 yards and 17 touchdowns. The guys that did that last year, Henry, Gibbs, Jamar Chase. That's it. So if Tua stays healthy the whole year, or if this quarterback play just improves slightly, even if it's not Tua, I think Achane could be in for a gigantic year.
Jeff, I'd love to hear your take on Achane too, because I think he's a very divisive figure right now. You have some analysts, and I know some of our friends on the CBS podcast who absolutely love him and are very aggressive. Boggs is obviously very aggressive too. Where are you on Achane? Because I'm still somewhere in the middle because of the way that I like to build out my rosters where he goes in ADP. I'm typically taking the Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomases of the world, so I don't really see him on a lot of my rosters. But for you, is Achane somebody that you feel comfortable with as a hero RB, or do you have any concerns because of possibly some, very bizarre things going on around Miami right now?
You could just say Tyreek Hill.
Well, I'm of the mind
man.
of we're going to get a firing of him in week 12. There's 3 games in a row they play at home where I think they play the Bengals, they play the Ravens, and they play another really good team. And I'm pretty much sure that that's the firing of Mike McDaniel right after that.
That's a shame too, because I really did have a lot of hope for him, and obviously the run game is innovative. He was at the forefront of using motion. Now everybody's using crazy amounts of motion, but okay, back to Achane. I think he's actually properly valued at RB7, so I'm on market with him. There's a couple factors at play. Now he produces like a peak era Alvin Kamara, right? He's getting ample work in the run game. It's not like Giovanni Bernard work in the run game where it's around about 100 carries for the season. But then on top of it, you're talking about a guy who could be an 80 catch guy at running back, which is incredible. That's a ceiling. And then you add to that a decent floor with his role in the run game. The one major concern is that initially we thought maybe it'd be Ollie Gordon, but apparently Alexander Madison is immortal and he may actually get a goal line job for this team. That's not that big of course. Well, but that's not really a huge factor for me. You know, the touchdown productivity, we're not reliant on touchdowns with Devon Achane. So I think he's actually fine where he is. We know he's absolutely explosive. We know that any given play he could take to the house. So I like it. I like going after those guys with super high ceilings, and he absolutely has it. But if he's going at the front end of the second round, that's probably a tick too early for me.
All right, so those are the hero RBs we're talking about. Let's talk about the zero RB targets. So the guys that if we're going big wide receiver build that we feel good about leading our backfield. Again, some of these guys are not going to be the top 10, top 12, or maybe even top 15 on a lot of people's boards. Bogman, let's start with you on this one. Give me a zero RB target you feel good about building a backfield around if the value on the board presents itself in a different way that you just don't want to go running back.
And I've hit the same names a bunch of times on a lot of these shows, so I'm trying to spice it up a little bit here. But we're going to go with Isaiah Pacheco on this one. And there aren't stats I can give you about Pacheco because obviously last season was, when he had that fractured fibula, he came back too early, but we knew that he was not going to be 100% when he came back. Obviously, I do the Sunday show here at Fantasy Pros during the season, and we have Deepak Chona, the injury expert, on. And right after Isaiah Pacheco fractured his fibula and we got the news about it, Deepak said, look, he can come back this year. He is not going to be 100%. He's probably going to be much slower. He won't be able to cut as well, right? He can play through the pain, but he's not going to be 100% until the beginning of next season. So, I took that information, I stored it, and I went, he is going to be way undervalued because he's not going to be the same when he comes back. He's going to look slow. And next year, if they don't take a running back high, because there were so many in this class, I think I'll be in on Pacheco. And so I'm going to stand by that and be in on Pacheco this season. I just think that anytime you can get a running back that could lead a team like the Chiefs in rushes, you need to do it. This is a good offense, and I could have said a million names down here because I like a lot of these running backs down here, specifically with the class coming in, but I think Pacheco himself specifically is being overlooked right now.
Jeff, the name that you chose here for the zero RB, I just did a video about right before the show, so I feel validation now that you've selected him because it's exactly the same thing. And I know Bogman loves him too, but I feel like this guy's being undervalued, underappreciated, and you're confident enough in this running back that actually you feel like, hey, he can lead my fantasy backfield this year. So let's talk about Kaleb Johnson, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, and I think we should preface this with you don't win your fantasy championship in week 2 or week 1, and don't be that person who if your hero RB targets in the middle rounds don't perform well, that you want to quit fantasy football. Like, don't do that. We win our fantasy championships in week 17, most leagues out there. Some are in 18, I get that. But still, that is in December or January, not in September. So if Kaleb Johnson doesn't get out to a hot start, that's fine. And if Kaleb Johnson is struggling in pass protection, guess what? He's a rookie running back. 99% of them struggle in pass protection. And if he's getting extra instructions in practice, guess what? That's what practice is for. They are learning these things, of course. But look at the opportunity. Look at the skill set. The opportunity is there. Jaylen Warren is a pass-catching back. Now, he's exceeded my expectations as a pro, and that's great. Kudos to him. 27 years old this season already. There is a vacated hole that was once occupied by Najee Harris. I think we have a better version of Najee Harris here. We have a big back. Is he going to run away from anybody? No, but he can one cut and go. He's a perfect fit for the Arthur Smith system. Remember, Arthur Smith runs that same run scheme, his variation, but that is pervasive in the NFL that goes back to Kubiak and Shanahan back in the day. This is great. He may not hit right away, but he drips with everything that I'm looking for in a running back in this range. And it helps that he's a younger guy, but I love the high ceiling that we potentially have here. Now, of course, we have some questions about whether or not Aaron Rodgers can run this offense effectively, but I'm willing to take that risk. And, of course, you have that discount baked into the price point in this range.
Well, I'm old enough to remember when rookie Najee Harris on the Pittsburgh Steelers was a guy we were falling all over ourselves to draft so early, and Kaleb Johnson still floating outside the top 24 RBs. It's crazy right now in ADP. Now, in order to get to this zero RB situation. Certain players have to fall to you in a draft that you just can't pass up in rounds 3 and 4. So we're going to talk about those names in just a second. Before we do, I want to remind everybody to get in the game right now because Best Ball is live at DraftKings. $15 million is on the line with real stakes and real excitement. Can't you feel the excitement in my voice? Best Ball is the biggest fantasy contest over at DraftKings, and we're talking about $15 million. That's right, guaranteed in the prize pool with two, not one, but two, first and second place millionaires are going to be made. So if you want a shot at winning a share of $15 million, and if that's not enough to get you excited right now, check this out. DraftKings is offering everyone a draft one, get one special. So your $20 entry fee scores you a bonus ticket. So download the DraftKings app right now. Use that promo code FantasyPros. That's FantasyPros, one word, for all customers who enter the NFL Best Ball 15 million millionaire contest to get a bonus ticket and get a shot at being crowned one of 2 millionaires only on DraftKings. So get in on that right now. So let's get to some of those names here that would fall to us at wide receiver or maybe even tight end in rounds 3 and 4 that you go, ooh, you know what? I would want to take a running back here. I just can't pass on this dude. Who knows? Maybe it's even a quarterback. I doubt it because Jeff is on the show. Chances are we're going to wait on QB. So, Boggs, let's start with you again on this one here. Give me a couple of the names here in the 3rd and 4th round, one each that's tantalizing to you, that's willing to push you into that. I'll live with 0 RB because I'm not passing on this dude.
Yeah, give me a couple crusty old veterans here. Give me George Kittle in the 3rd, right? And then Mike Evans in the 4th. And the tight end specifically is what I want to come away with early in the draft this season. Is I want one of the top 3 tight ends. I want Bowers in the early 2nd. I want McBride at the end of the 2nd, or I want George Kittle somewhere in the 3rd. I want an elite tight end because I think those 3 are markedly better over the rest of the group. Will someone come out of the rest of the group? Yeah, but I think those 3 are guaranteed, and everybody else is way more hit or miss. You know, Mark Andrews probably pretty safe. Kelsey's probably pretty safe, but they don't have the ceiling of these 3 guys. So give me George Kittle. Give me a premium tight end. And Kittle's the one I like the most because he cost the least out of that group. And then give me Mike Evans still. And everyone is, pushing this. Well, Emeka Egbuka is amazing, and Baker Mayfield talked about him on a podcast one time, so he's obviously going to be, the best wide receiver on this team.
Yeah, of course.
Keep doubting Mike Evans. Keep doing it. Joe did it last year. Joe,
did.
tell him how it worked out for you.
I did poorly.
Last year. Did it work out very well? It didn't.
Well, I'm
did it?
waiting eventually for it to catch up with him. That's what I feel. I always feel like eventually it's like, okay. It's like one of these years, he can't keep doing this every single year. He's getting old. I know. I hurt getting up out of the morning.
He gets to play Carolina twice every single year.
Yeah, I guess so. No, you're right.
He's every single season of his career, he's had 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
And he's had double-digit touchdowns in 4 of the last 5 seasons. So keep down Mike Evans if you want because Emeka Egbuka's there. I think he's awesome. I think it could easily be Evans 1, Egbuka 2, and then Godwin goes to the wayside, and so does McMillan. That could be it. I don't think anything's happening with Mike Evans. I still have him as wide receiver 13. So give me George Kittle, give me Evans, and I'll be more than willing to take a running back later.
All right, so Bogman will break the car for George Kittle in the 3rd, Evans in the 4th. Jeff, who are you slowing down to pick up here and put on your roster in the 3rd and 4th round to make 0 RB really worth it?
See, I've had a different experience, I guess, with people with Mike Evans. I don't find there's Mike Evans hate. There used to be Mike Evans hate, but I don't find that hate right now. It's people running in fear from Chris Godwin, especially when Jason Light did not. He basically danced around saying that reserve PUP is in play for Chris Godwin. Like
I just assumed.
That's concerning. Yeah, and it's crazy given that they signed that contract.
See,
but
that's
regardless,
what's surprising to me, Jeff, is I'm always a big
they re-signed him and drafted him,
and there's no
injury
clause on there.
Yeah,
I mean, ultimately, what is this, his 9th or 10th year in the league? I mean, you have to prepare for the future with Godwin, that is. But hey, man, if people are hating, I hope people in my leagues hate on Mike Evans because I'll take him later. I'm with you. I think the 12th season with 1,000 yards is very likely. He's scoring a ton of touchdowns late career here with Baker Mayfield. Now, I didn't have those guys, of course. I went in a different direction, and I put Jackson Smith-Njigba and DJ Moore. Now, first and foremost, Jackson Smith-Njigba is set up for a big workload as long as Sam Darnold can continue with what he did last year. He's playing in a very similar system. Kevin O'Connell is a quarterback whisperer, but Kubiak, it's the same offense, maybe a little bit of different terminology, obviously a couple different wrinkles, but Sam Darnold should have success there in theory. Jackson Smith-Njigba has very little competition for targets. And I know if you're listening to this podcast right now, you're probably screaming Cooper Kupp's name, but Cooper Kupp is on the decline. And this happens with certain players. I hope this isn't the case for Cooper Kupp, but there's that. Remember that weird last year that he was on that one team and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot he was on that team. Maybe 20 years from now, we're saying, oh yeah, I forgot Cooper Kupp was on the Seahawks at the end of his career. I hope it isn't the case, but I'm not overly bullish there. I know some people read a news blurb and think that Horton's going to be a thing. I'm not convinced there. I'd love Elijah Arroyo to be a thing. I'm not convinced there. I think there's just ample meat on the bone for Jackson Smith-Njigba, and the dude's really good. So I like him in that range, high floor. And then DJ Moore is being slept on. I know last year wasn't great. Well, guess what? Crap rolls downhill, and it started at the head coach, rolled to the offensive coordinator, and then just went all over the offense last year. It was a crappy situation. Now, I don't think we have a crappy situation. You know, I really liked getting to see some of the behind the scenes with Ben Johnson on the quarterback series last year with him and Jared Goff. You didn't get a ton of him, but you got to see a little bit more of his personality. And we're seeing it with him as a head coach. I think he's going to really do some fun stuff in this offense. And DJ Moore is the top target. I'd love to see Roma Dunze take a step forward, but DJ Moore is the top target. He still has plenty of upside. He's not north of 30 or anything like that. And he's going to get a lot of looks in that offense. I'll take him in the 4th round all day long.
So is that Poop Cruise documentary on Netflix about the Bears of 2024? Is that what it's about? I heard I got to watch it. Everybody tells me I got to watch this, but I haven't seen it.
I don't know. I went on a cruise this year, and that was going through my head the entire time. Like, please don't be Poop Cruise. Please don't be Poop Cruise.
Bad move to watch it before the cruise. I can't imagine doing that. So, all right, let's get to some more names here. Let's go to players that you got to have outside the top 50 overall. Let's start with you here on this one, Jeff, because this is a player that I almost selected, and we were, I think I was what was I, 4, I think, and you were 6 on Saturday, I believe, in the draft. So the only reason I didn't take him is I already had Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I was like, do I want to take everybody on the Detroit Lions? I don't know if I want to do that necessarily with a lot of new stuff going on there. But I love this player this year. He's your guy outside the top 50, Jameson Williams, who, look, frankly, I think people forget how young he is, right? He's just 24 years old still, I believe. Same age as the next guy Bogman's going to talk about. But on top of it, a great career at Alabama where he was the big-time playmaker. He's had a lot of injuries and some other shenanigans and nonsense that have held him back. But it feels like last year was a clear path, and now all of a sudden we're starting to see him emerge as a potential star. So what do you see in Jameson Williams that makes him a must-have guy for you outside the top 50?
And I did sort of cheat here because I have him at 51. So, but
I wasn't going to tell everybody, but I'm glad you were honest about it.
Legitimate question, though. And let's not forget, too, even before Alabama, he was one of the fleet of wide receivers that was recruited at Ohio State. He started his college career there. I mean, this dude, he's special. Now, it was hard to stand out in that room with all of those guys there. So he got his opportunity to stand out, and he did on a big stage for Alabama. Then, we didn't get anything really in the rookie season. I mean, we got a couple big plays, and that was really it. And then last year, steps up big time, not high volume, but really great efficiency, and showed that he can make plays downfield. The problem was they weren't throwing the ball downfield that often. I don't really think it's a product of Jared Goff can't do that. He's not Josh Allen or anything like that in terms of his arm, but he can deliver the ball downfield with accuracy. So now maybe that opens up a little bit more. Now he's got a full season under his belt of production. And yes, Amon-Ra is there. Sam Laporte is there. Gibbs, Montgomery. There are a lot of mouths to feed. But the good news is it's still an extremely explosive offense that has a lot of meat on the bone. So shooting for that high ceiling, if he's your 3rd wide receiver, this is an enormous ceiling out of this guy. So I really love him.
Boggs, the guy you're going to talk about, George Pickens, finds himself in a new spot here with the Dallas Cowboys. Certainly the best quarterback situation that he's ever had in his career. I think we can agree on that. That's for sure. So it looks like with, I think, a running back room that has more questions than answers, a pretty heavy passing attack. So, yeah, CeeDee Lamb is still the alpha dog. He's still the guy there. But it feels like there's a lot of boom weeks potentially for George Pickens this season in 2025.
Yeah, and that's really the thing is, I know that the history of the Steelers trading a wide receiver has been, the wide receiver falls off the map and all of that. I just don't think that that's what we have with George Pickens. I think he was the one guy that my favorite team, the Steelers, have traded that still has a lot of upside, and we still haven't really scratched the surface of what he can do for a myriad of reasons. The biggest being, I just don't think his head has been in it at any point yet in his NFL career. He definitely is a man-child and not grown up and not mature enough to really take it seriously. It is funny, but I'm being serious. He is a big, gigantic crybaby, and he takes plays off. So that is super frustrating. But let's look at the on-field stuff, right? Who are his quarterbacks? It's Pickett, Trubisky, the ghost of Russell Wilson, and Justin Fields, who doesn't throw. Dak Prescott will be the best quarterback he's played with ever. So that's number one. Number two, who was the number 2 wide receiver with him trying to take coverage away? Deontay Johnson? Deontay Johnson is probably the best wide receiver that he's played with. Now he has CeeDee Lamb. He's going to get better one-on-ones. So that should make his contested catches go up. And he should be open more often. And let's not forget, out of 110 qualified wide receivers, he's pretty good in some of these advanced stats. 14th in yards per reception, 18th in ADOT, 25th in yards per route run, and missed tackles forced among wide receivers. So, like you said, Joey, no real lead running back in this room. They might be relying on passing downfield a little bit more. I do think Micah Parsons plays, but I still think that defense is questionable, specifically in the secondary. Might have to go point for point with a lot of teams here. So, yeah, I'm grabbing George Pickens wherever he's available.
Well, if Parson goes, that's a whole other can of worms. And all of a sudden,
they turn into the Bengals.
Yeah, that's exactly who they might turn into. Do you think Schottenheimer is up for the task, though, of keeping George Pickens head on straight?
I hope so, but that comes down to George Pickens, right? He's a grown man. Like you need to rein it in. You need to grow up. Well, the body says he is.
Well, the body says
the mind not so much.
Georgia, that's for sure.
But I mean, I think, and he's not getting in off-field issues like Jameson Williams. It's all on-field idiot stuff. Yeah. So this stuff can be switched very quickly if he gets his head on straight and does it. So
certainly a good
big
opportunity.
If.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of talent in there.
Good luck, man. I made a trade for him in my Dynasty League last year, and I was very happy to get him, and then very happy that he ended up going to the Cowboys. I thought, because I knew he was gone. I just didn't know where, and I was just hoping it was a good landing spot, and I'll take the Dallas landing spot. Let's turn our attention to Superflex here and get some of the names. Obviously, the big QBs, but there's quarterbacks outside the top 12 that, again, are some of the must-have targets. Now, I've got mine. You can go look at my flex roster, and you can see some of those names right now. I think Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, a lot of those guys that are kind of going on that fringe of 12 are really good investments. There's some other late ones, too, that I'm interested in. But, Jeff, I want to ask you about a guy that you feel really confident in as a second quarterback that you got to have this year in Superflex who kind of will make it all work from a roster perspective.
Yeah, I'm going with J.J. McCarthy. I think this is a really fascinating situation. We just talked about Sam Darnold coming off of an incredible year where he revitalized his career, put up big-time numbers, and they had the opportunity to potentially ink him to a contract extension. And they said, nah, see you later. We got this other guy. That tells me something. I saw that happen. Now, granted, I'm not going to go this far, listener, okay? But I saw this happen one time before in recent memory where there was a guy who was pretty good as a starter, Alex Smith. And then they said, we got this other guy. Wait till you see this other guy. Now, again, he's not going to be Patrick Mahomes, but J.J. McCarthy could be Sam Darnold plus. Like, he has the mobility of a modern quarterback, just like Sam Darnold. He has a lot more than he showed at the college level, because let's not forget who his college coach was, Jim Harbaugh, who likes to run the football. He had the greatest prospect quarterback that we've seen probably since John Elway, and he ran the ball a ton at Stanford when Andrew Luck was his quarterback. So I'm not going to judge anything based on the numbers. We know he was efficient. The one thing that really impressed me the most in the pre-draft process with McCarthy was his ball velocity. Like, I'm glad that they actually test that now. He has some zip on that ball. And then Justin Jefferson is taking him under his wing. And sure, Jordan Addison's suspended for 3 games. Whoopity-doo, who cares? TJ Hawkinson there. You have pass catcher out of the backfield and Aaron Jones. I mean, this is a great situation, not to mention your head coach is perhaps the quarterback whisperer of this generation of coaches. It's a great situation, and you don't have to pay a top 12 price tag for him.
Yeah, I like McCarthy a lot too, and I'm very confident that Kevin O'Connell can get the best out of him. I do think it's going to be a slow start, but not because it's McCarthy necessarily, just because the kid hasn't played football in a year. So I could see him being a little slow in the uptake in September, but then kind of rolling after that. Kind of similar to what you saw last year with Bo Nix, right? Where Bo Nix kind of struggled a little bit, trying to pick things up. We got to find what works here. Just because the kid hasn't played football, I think, in a little bit of time. That's certainly going to be
You remember when they were like, so Bo, what happened on that interception? He's like, threw it to the wrong person.
Well, I wish there was more honesty in the league like that. That's very refreshing honesty. So Jeff is confident in J.J. McCarthy. Bogman, give me a guy that you're confident in here in Superflex leagues as a QB2 that you got to have.
Well, I mean, Jeff got to the sheet before me, so it was Jeff. It was J.J. McCarthy. But
I did send it to you first. In all fairness, I sent it to you first. I said Jeff's going to take all these good guys. You got to get in there.
Hey, look,
Boggs
I gotta
football profiles together.
I gotta tell everybody how upset I am about when someone snipes my guy. But usually I let the other person go first. So it's Kaleb Williams here. Like, you can pick a bunch of names. There's a lot of quarterbacks I like late, which is why I prefer to take a tight end high, right? Because there's so many good quarterbacks later. If you want to get that advantage at a different position, I prefer to tight end. But it's Kaleb Williams for me. I mean, look, there are no excuses for Kaleb Williams this year. You have a coach that isn't going to skip out on watching film with you, right? You have that now. You have improved offensive line play. You have DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, Cole Kmet, and Colson Loveland. You have Swift and Roshan should be better this season as well. And they drafted Kyle Monaghan that they like. There's no excuse for Kaleb Williams to fail this year, and I don't think he's going to. Is it going to be painful to watch sometimes, specifically with his big-time mistakes where he doesn't get rid of the ball? Absolutely. There are still going to be growing pains with Kaleb Williams. He's not even close to a finished product. But with all those weapons, it should be get the ball short to Luther Burden, get the ball short to Colson Loveland, put the ball in DJ Moore's hand at any spot in the field, right? And Rome Odunze has a much higher ceiling than he showed last year. I mean, I think he's going to be really, really good. Agreed. So this Bears offense could be very scary immediately. I think once they find their Jahmyr Gibbs in the draft in the next couple years, this is going to be a very scary offense, like the Lions are right now.
Do you think people are overstating a little bit some of the early struggles Kaleb seems to be having in camp? Again, it's a new offense. Of course, there's going to be struggles. I know people don't like his body language on certain things, but that's always been Kaleb Williams at USC and everywhere else. Like, that's just Kaleb Williams. So I mean, I'm not making too much out of it yet. To me, it's more of a thing like if you don't start to look good in some of the preseason games, that's when I start to get a little concerned.
Like Jeff mentioned earlier, dude. Like, this is where you're supposed to make mistakes. You're supposed to make your mistakes and have your issues in practice so they don't happen. So you're a little bit more lenient with the ball. You're trying different things. It's going to lead to ugly interceptions and bad looks. And with 1,000 people at every practice, reporting how bad Kaleb Williams looks, it adds to a bad narrative. It's that stuff and the beat writer speculation and even some of the coaching stuff. Unless they're telling you about usage, it's all Pollyanna for every player. So kind of don't believe what comes out of their mouth unless it's injury related.
All right, so if you want to get these guys that we're talking about on your roster, a great way to do it is to use the Draft Assistant. So the Draft Assistant here at Fantasy Pros, that tool connects directly to your draft, doesn't matter what platform you're on, and it'll make real suggestions in real time based on the estimations of which players get taken before your next pick. And on top of that, you can use fantastic rankers here, like Scott Bogman, especially for IDP leagues. You want to use Boggs. Jeff Ratcliffe, one of the best rankers ever here. Just go take a look at the tail of the tape. You want to put him on your cheat sheet, you want to put me on your cheat sheet, or just Jeff, that's fine. We'll talk about it Thanksgiving, and I'll tell you why I'm upset about that you left me off. But whatever you want to do, again, you can base it off your rankings. You can do team builds. You can do all this different stuff here to get everything customized for your league and how you want to approach it so you can dominate your leagues. And the only way to do that is to download the Fantasy Football Draft Wizard app right now. So do that and then go premium here. You get 3 days of the trial free of the premium tools at Fantasy Pros Premium at fantasypros.com/premium. That's easy to remember. Go do that. Claim the 3-day trial right now for free. And again, sync all your leagues for free. It's free to sync. Go ahead, do it. Use Draft Assistant. Use the cheat code that will unlock all of the must-haves. That way you can embarrass all your friends and family in fantasy football, because that's really what this is about. And your colleagues at work.
Humiliating your friends and family.
Yeah, I mean, come on. If you can't do that in fantasy football, what good is fantasy football at the end of the day? All right, let's talk about some of our flag plant guys. We do this every year, right? We talk about the guys like, this is my dude. I'm not leaving draft without this guy and maybe that guy. It's like Steve Martin and the Jerk. I'm not leaving without Kaleb Johnson, and I'm going to take this remote and this chair. That's all I need. And maybe Drake May. That's it. That's it.
These cans.
He hates these cans, that guy. God, it's underrated in film. All right, so let's talk about some of the flag plant guys here. Jeff, why don't you go first? Give us 2 names that you are trying, without a doubt, to plant the flag and say, these are my dudes. I'm taking them in drafts because I got to have them.
I'm going with Tank Bigsby and Trey Benson. Now, obviously, when you do flag plant guys, you can't just be like, oh, Bijan Robinson and Jamar Chase, right? We can't take guys
I mean, you could,
but
earlier
round guys, right? So these guys right now currently are both late round guys. You can get them after you get into round 10, round 11 in that range. But Tank Bigsby has been moving up as Travis Etienne has been moving down. And that is a really fascinating backfield. Like, let's look at what happened last year. Liam Cohen's run game, it looked fantastic in the preseason. Remember, Sean Tucker was balling in the preseason.
Yeah.
And then that just spilled into the season, and we saw Bucky Irving do Bucky Irving things down the stretch. For me, who's the player who's closest in terms of comp to Bucky Irving? Well, it isn't ETN. It's definitely Tank Bigsby. And we've already heard from the beat that he's looking good in the preseason, and he's actually outplaying ETN. So I think this is a pretty clear one that the masses seem to be just sort of glossing over. And by the way, Bashal Tutin, a lot of people are talking about him, but they're ignoring LaQuint Allen. And Cohen was actually very complimentary of LaQuint Allen in the offseason program, not necessarily as we've gotten into camp here, but I wouldn't necessarily overlook that he might be slightly involved as well. But regardless, it's Tank Bigsby first and foremost, set up for success in an offense that should be much improved. Now, the other one throws some people off, but, James Conner going way earlier. I really don't want James Conner, and I want to give credit where credit's due because he had one of his best seasons as a professional at an age where most running backs don't have, their best seasons.
Got him an extension.
Yeah, unless you're Derrick Henry, for example. Well, but there's been a narrative all offseason, and everybody in Arizona is saying it, but yet the masses seem to be ignoring it. This is a number one situation. So in other words, Trey Benson's workload from last year, pay it no mind, it's going to be much larger this year. We're also one James Conner injury away from a big role in what is an improving offense. The DVOA numbers over at FTN Fantasy show that Arizona was a lot better than they were the previous year, both on the offensive and defensive sides of the ball. So I'm looking for bang for my buck in the late rounds, and especially at running back, if you can nail one of those guys, and we're never going to get Arian Foster in his breakout season in the late rounds ever again, but still, if you can nail one of those guys in the late rounds, the return on investment for your roster is game changing. I'm not going to say league winning because you have to do a whole heck of a lot of other things in season to win your league. But seriously, it's a huge difference maker. So shooting for upside with those two guys.
I like it a lot. All right, Boggs, give me your two must-have plant your flag kind of dudes that you're not leaving drafts without.
Don't worry, everyone. I'm done with Cam Scatterboo for now. So I'm not going to say his name.
We'll take a day off. Cam.
Just still had to say his name, though. Matthew Golden is my first one. And, yes, I'm a big Texas homer, but I love this situation for him because – and I know Green Bay, Matt LaFleur talked about how he'd be disgusted to have a number one wide receiver on his team. He likes guys that can do different things. I get it. You draft Matthew Golden in the first round, you're looking for a playmaker. You want a dude to lead this team in targets, right? I think Matthew Golden is that dude immediately. I've also been, if I don't get that high-end tight end, Tucker Kraft is my backup because he's the one guy that's going to end up on the field. So I like both these players. But I think Matthew Golden, look, he's better than Dobbs. He's better than Wicks immediately, I think. So Jaden Reed is probably a better all-around wide receiver than he is. But for whatever reason, they just don't like him in Green Bay. He got fewer than 60% of the snaps 6 of the last 9 weeks that he played. So I just don't know what's going on with Jaden Reed. Maybe he opens it up. Him and Golden are the combo they've been waiting for, and they become the wide receiver 1 and 2 here. But I think for sure Matthew Golden leads this team in targets among the wide receivers. Maybe Kraft beats him, but he's going right now as wide receiver 46, almost, that wide receiver 4 or 5 borderline. I have him at wide receiver 42. So I'm much, much higher than most people on Matthew Golden. And my second player, this is a super flex specific, right? So 1 QB league, I'm not going after Anthony Richardson, but in the super flex, right now, his ECR is 29. His ADP is QB 29. Give me all of the upside in the world on a quarterback like Anthony Richardson. And I've been saying this from day one. I said it before this happened too. What is a better strategy to get your guy Anthony Richardson some confidence than saying, well, Daniel Jones is clearly the leader in the clubhouse here for this job. I don't see how Anthony Richardson can snatch this shot.
So we're talking motivation. Is that where we're
yes,
looking at
and then you're like, okay, they both suck. Might as well play Anthony Richardson. This offense is designed to be great. You have Jonathan Taylor. You have Giddens behind him, who's another rookie running back who's incredible. You have so many great targets. Pittman, Downs, Warren now. A.D. Mitchell, Alec Pierce took a step up last season. So, if Anthony Richardson starts 17 games, there's no way he's not a QB1 because of his rushing upside. And if he improves that passing to horrible instead of not playable, then he's going to be maybe that number 6 quarterback behind the top 5. So Richardson still has a ton of upside. He could also play no games. So he's incredibly risky.
So he's got to be your third quarterback in a strategy like that, where
QB
you take your anchor quarterback guy and then you
time.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And by the way, they're both going so late. You can take Daniel Jones too. Welsh has done that a couple times in the mocks that we've had that are deeper in Superflex. So that's a good strategy as well. Just take them both and have the winner because the offense is built to succeed.
Jeff, what's your thoughts on Anthony Richardson real quick? Because I don't think we've ever talked about him, you and I.
No, I think you have to have enough bench spots in order to take both of them, though. So if you're in like a 6 bench spot league, you just can't really get away with that. But 8 or more, yeah, maybe. The only challenge, though, is if they flip-flop back and forth like the Raiders did last year, that's a challenge. But Anthony Richardson, so he is the quintessential player where fantasy and reality do not meet at all. In fantasy, this is like Justin Fields on Barry Bonds HGH. Like it does not meet at all. In fantasy, he could be really fantastic. He could be a top 10, if not better, any given week because of his rushing ability. In real football, if you're listening to this right now, do yourself this favor. Pull up Anthony Richardson's career stats and then type in these 2 words and find the stats for this player. Tim Tebow. And you will see, dear listener,
went to Florida too.
You will see their stats over Tim Tebow's entire career basically is now equal to about the amount of stats that Richardson has. They're almost identical.
Jeff, who has better arm?
Between Tim Tebow and
one
Anthony
has an
Richardson.
arm. I think that's
yes, please answer that question for me, so I don't look like an idiot suggesting
it is
Tim
certainly
Tebow to
Anthony
everybody.
Richardson. It's okay. But still, the accuracy is the issue. It's not the arm strength.
Yeah,
that's what I said. Like, all you got to do is improve that accuracy from unplayable to horrible, and you have a good fantasy asset, right?
He would have been the perfect guy, Jeff, that I feel like if there was a developmental league too where guys like if NFL Europe was still a thing, he could have gone and got a bunch of reps and started to get some confidence under him. Like he's a guy that I just didn't think played enough to realize some of the raw talent that he's got.
Yeah, you have that. And then, I mean, if accuracy is going to be a thing, if that's something that Steichen focuses on, Daniel Jones is well north of 60% on his career. He's accurate. He has one major deficiency. He has no idea where the end zone is and will not throw the ball to the end zone. Annually, he's among the worst in end zone throws, and that's an important thing. That's really important stuff. You can't throw as many touchdowns, simply put. You're not going to score as often. You can't just rely on Jonathan Taylor all day long. But I don't know. It's going to be exciting regardless. And the cool thing about that offense, though, and I'll answer a question about a player that hasn't been asked, but I want to answer it anyway. I don't care who the quarterback is for Tyler Warren. I don't care. If I can get Tyler Warren in the late rounds, I'm going to go for it. I don't think he's Brock Bowers 2.0 because that dude, they broke the mold after they built him.
Right.
He's one of one, right?
He's Jeremy Shockey 2.0 if he's anybody.
That's not a bad comp. I like that because he could go out and produce immediately and give you very viable numbers potentially in the late rounds. And unlike Colston Loveland, I don't think there are as many mouths to feed, at least mouths that intimidate me. I'm not intimidated by Josh Downs and Michael Pittman. I'd love A.D. Mitchell to be a thing. We know what Alec Pierce is. Run that way, kid. We're going to throw the ball as far as we possibly can, and you're going to break 3 slates this season. But good luck guessing which 3 slates those are, right?
Yeah.
But otherwise, like I love Tyler Warren. I loved what we saw at Penn State last year. I hope they give him carries like Penn State did. I hope they line him up all over the formation.
Yeah.
At least goal line,
Taysom
like
Hill.
show a wrinkle.
Yeah, he can do it. Like he's that athletic.
He can pass too.
And he's a monster. He's humongous. Like it should be fun regardless of who throws him the football.
All right, good. I'm glad because I didn't want to end on a depressing note here about Tim Tebow and Anthony Richardson. I was like, the show's just way down there. But let's instead end on some questions here from the listener mailbag. These are straight from our Discord. It's free to join, fantasypros.com/chat. We got the AMAs going on there. We've got podcasts we record on there where you, just like a radio show, you can come on there, ask your questions, have the discussions. Instead of just like dropping some weird Twitter question, guess what? We can actually have a conversation about your roster and get you the best answer we can. So the way to do that, again, fantasypros.com/chat. The first one here from Tim B, 12-team PPR league, Pickens for $11 or Worthy for $13. This one's easy for me. It's Pickens, Boggs. What do you think?
I like both. I have Worthy higher than Pickens, and I like Pickens, so I probably do Worthy for $2 more.
So for the $2 difference. All right, Jeff, break the tie. Worthy for 13 or Pickens for 11?
I am saving $1 on my market values on Worthy. I'm slightly overpaying on Pickens, so I'm going to go Worthy.
All right, so I'm the odd man out there. Next one here is from KC1324. Is Lamar Jackson the clear 101 in Superflex, or would it be crazy to make Jamar Chase the guy at 101 and take a QB then in the turn? So having just come out of Superflex Flex League Expert League draft, I think Chase went third, I want to say. I think it was Allen, Lamar, and then it was Chase who went third in that draft. Whenever I did the mocks there, Jeff, to me, I just didn't quite like the roster build, because to me, you take the Lamar at the 101, and that's who I would take anyway, because all the other suppression of the quarterbacks pushes all that other talent all the way back to you. I mean, I started at the 4 spot with Joe Burrow, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Drake London. That's a hell of a start to a team that I feel really good about. But even though I love Chase, I just don't necessarily like the way the build looks when it comes back. To me, the value on the way back at the 2-3 turn is not the quarterbacks. It's actually the opposite. It's those position players that get suppressed. What do you think, Jeff?
Well, we have a rule on my radio show that if you have to ask if it's crazy, it usually is crazy. But this one actually is an example where it isn't. Like if you had said, should I draft, Brian Thomas Jr. there? That's a little crazy. Not even that he's that far down in rankings, but yeah, that's a little aggressive. Here, I think there's two answers. It's Lamar or Josh Allen. I don't think that one of them is incorrect. Josh Allen is incredibly productive on the ground in a very different way than Lamar. Lamar is the best running quarterback in NFL history, but he doesn't actually score a lot of rushing touchdowns in comparison to Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen, right? Because you have Derrick Henry. Why you don't need to, right? Yeah. Josh Allen is going to score when they get down in the red area of the field, and he'll do so consistently. And I'm hoping this year that Keon Coleman can take a little bit of a step forward. Dalton Kincaid can put it on the rails a little bit, and Josh Palmer gives him some stuff downfield, that the passing numbers come back for Josh Allen. So I think if I'm in that 1-1 spot, it comes down to Lamar or Josh Allen, depending on who you have higher.
Yeah, I think not taking a quarterback right there, Joey, that forces you to take 2 in your next turn, because sitting at the end, you have no idea what quarterback is going to come back to you in the 4th. So you're kind of, if you take Chase, you're at the whim of whatever quarterbacks.
Well, I think it's going to be like
2 and 3.
It's probably going to be Kyler Murray, Goff, Purdy. Like that's the grouping. If you want to do that, I understand. But
too many go, you are bypassing the exact scenario that you like about taking Lamar there, in the good position players falling, and you're stuck with crappy quarterbacks. So yeah, to me, I think Jeff is exactly right. It's a quarterback. Whatever quarterback it is, that's on you, but it's a quarterback.
All right. Jeff Ratcliffe, again, host of the Jeff Ratcliffe Show, and Gran Poobah over at FTN. Now, the show's on a new time. I listen to it every single morning when I'm at the gym. Jeff knows this because I tweeted him sometimes while I'm listening to the show. And they say, well, you already do fantasy football for a living. Why do you listen to other people? Because Jeff gives you not just great information, but Jeff's show, what I love is how to action it. The actionable information, I think, is the most important thing. I think it's one of the most underutilized, underserved markets here in the fantasy football space. And I want to just say you do a great job of that. That's why people should listen. But tell everybody about the new time slot, because
I listen for the brisket takes, by the way.
He listens for the brisket takes, which is also.
Well, don't tell everybody about that.
Yeah, seriously.
You might get people angry. No, I appreciate the kind words there, Joe. Like that's the objective. Like historically, our industry has kind of just handed people the fish, and I'd rather teach them how to fish, because just like any game out there, fantasy football is more fun the better you are at it. So that's the objective, and we have fun along the way. But yeah, we're on from 8 to 10 Eastern now in the morning, so a little bit earlier. But if you miss the show and you're a SiriusXM subscriber, you can always just use the SiriusXM app and get caught up that way. I have to do that because there are shows that are on literally when I'm on that I want to listen to, so I go back and listen to them on the app.
Scott Bogman, why don't you have a show named after you? What are you doing? You're really slacking.
Yeah, it's someday.
Someday.
I'll get there
There
someday.
you go. Will it be about barbecue or will it be about football? That's the question.
A little
do love
both, man. You got
both.
multifaceted. Come
love
on,
the
you got to
barbecue,
give
I'm not
everybody
gonna
what
lie.
they want. I think.
All right, these are the must-have players. Hopefully, this is your must-have show of the day. Make sure you subscribe to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel right now. Again, trying to get to 300,000 subscribers this year. Drop your comments below. And, of course, let us know who are your must-have players. I want to hear from you. Drop those comments. Remember, we're giving away the A.J. Brown helmet autograph from Pristine Auction. Somebody's going to win that just for subscribing, just for dropping comments and liking this video. So do all those things, and it could be you. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on for Jeff Ratcliffe and Scott Bogman. I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.